We logged in the dashboard of SuperCloud Composer, and let's identify where that PDU exists in which particular rack. So we're going to navigate to Pod View, and then from Pod View, we're going to then determine where this PDU exists within the rack. So it happens to be in rack 1. So let's search in the search criteria for rack number 1. And let's go ahead and click on it. But before we click on it, you notice here that there's a little particular icon beside it indicating that this rack does have a PDU that is associated with it. So let's click on the rack itself. And you also see an identification here to indicate that a PDU has been added to this particular rack. We've actually added a PDU already, but let's take you through how to add a PDU within the rack by simply just going to the edit button on the top right-hand corner and then clicking on the add button, and then you simply put in the location of where your PDU exists, the IP address, and your SNMP community string, so we can go ahead and communicate and discover the rack itself and be able to communicate with the dashboard of the rack. So once we've added it here. You can simply click here, and then that will allow you to go ahead and launch specifically the dashboard of the PDU if you so choose to do so. But in our case, let's go ahead and discover some more. So in the top here, as I mentioned, we do an identification of the product SKU. That is the type of PDU. This happens to be a ServerTech PDU. So we have support for Eaton PDUs and then basically Schneider Electric as well. So if you kind of navigate through, you'll see the PDU with its IP address and its SKU. So let's do some more discovery here and learn more about what we can pull from the PDU. So on the left-hand side of the sidecard information, we provide you with the PDU console that you can select. Once you select the PDU console, it comes up with the PDU console. So let's drag this down to the bottom here so we can take a look more closely at the PDU list. In this case, we provide, again, as with any type of tree view structure, whether it be compute, whether it be switches, we provide a hierarchy that exists on the left-hand side. Of course, you can search with a search criteria there on the top as well. And then let's click on the PDU location here. And you can see here there's SKU information, number of outlets, serial number, and various different metadata that we can collect from the PDU that helps you manage and monitor the PDU itself. So let's click on PDU location, and you'll notice here it brings up what we call the physical asset type of collateral that exists, the association of the PDU per where it is located within a rack, the number of PDU outlets, and then we have the outlet list on the bottom. By clicking on one of these items, you can click on all of them and certainly power down the PDU itself or initiate a reboot. In our case, we simply, let's just do one of them. So we can simply go ahead and click on, say, AA14, which is probably our outlet 14. Click on it, and then we can simply go ahead and initiate an off. And at that point, it will send a request to the PDU to shut off the PDU outlet. We can see here that it was successful. It takes about 30 seconds to 40 seconds to refresh the web UI. In our case, let's just speed this up a little bit and see where if that PDU outlet was powered off. And by looking on the list here on the bottom, you can see here that it has now been entering into a state of off, and then you'll eventually see the control state actually turn to off, which it just basically did. So that's how you control the PDU itself. So let's go and look at some more detail about the PDU. So we want to look at, from the navigation view, we want to look at sensor reading data associated with the PDU. So we provide a grouping of phases, such as status for kilowatts per hour, and then we provide the AA voltage, which is the voltage that is powering through what we call the power source itself and powering each one of those outlets. So it's a 208.5 volts. And notice it's a normal condition. So if we're seeing some fluctuation in the voltage coming in, we'll actually report that with some data, whether it be critical or a warning or something like that. And then we also provide you a timestamp in which we collected the data. We provide you line status. You notice here it's in low warning for amperage. And then if we move down to branch status and then temperature status, and then of course humidity status, right? So we have a humidity sensor in there. It's collecting humidity itself. And you notice we've just received a poll. Eventually, with the next particular feature, we'll provide a customized dashboard that you can go in and basically build your own dashboard for the PDU itself. You can see here in the top the PDU energy, the PDU status, so detail about or power utilization of the PDU itself. And if we go down here, we also reflect the humidity. So there's a humidity sensor too as well that's collecting metadata. So if we go back over to analytics here, you can see here where we're charting various data points associated with each one. So humidity, temperature, and also phase voltage. So some very interesting type of data that you can pull from the PDU to help you with your green IT initiative within your data center itself. You have a date picker, which you can go back in time to look at the data itself, and eventually what we'll do is dump this into a common delimited file or CSV file. You can take these data points, chart them within a pivot table of Excel, and then go ahead and make some other data-driven decisions that you need within your data center itself.